through a ton of information in the language policies across Southeast Asia, and my brain is still going. There is so much more going on than just what language kids learn in school. We're talking about identity, power, unity, and survival. And each country approaches it in such a different way, even though on the surface they're talking the same problem. How to build a nation with many voices using one or two languages. So let's break this down. First, let's talk about what all of these languages policies have in common, because there are a few big overlaps. Okay, we just finished going through a ton of information in the language policies across Southeast Asia, and my brain is still going. There is so much more going on than just what language kids learn in school. We're talking about identity, power, unity, and survival. And each country approaches it in such a different way, even though on the surface they're talking the same problem. How to build a nation with many voices using one or two languages. So let's break this down. First, let's talk about what all of these languages policies have in common, because there are a few big overlaps.
So first, English as global lifeline. Across the board, English plays a major role, whether it's the main language of instruction or just reserved for science and technology at the university level. It's not just about colonization anymore. It's about staying globally competitive, whether you're a tiny island state or a diverse inland country. English is the go-to for modernization.
Schools are the front line. This world language policy hits home. Every decision, whether to use English, a mother tongue, or a national language, is rolled out through the classroom. Education systems become the testing ground for national identity.
Third is one language, one nation, most of the time. There's this strong belief in the idea that one belief equals unity. Then, if everyone speaks the same language, usually the national one, they'll feel more connected. But that doesn't actually work. More on the in a meeting.
Now let's talk about differences. And this is where it gets really interesting and honestly, sometimes uncomfortable.
So first, we have from full bilingualism to language monopolies. Some countries embrace bilingualism hard. Kids grow up learning English and their mother tongue from day one. There are exams, structured curriculum, it's a whole system. Others, they have one official language, period. Everyone learns in that language, even if it's not one that they speak at home, which for millions of children, it isn't.
That's a recipe for dropout rates and low academic performance. If half your students don't understand the language of instruction, how do you expect them to succeed?
Second, ethnic languages, cultural gems, or political goals. In some places, ethnic languages are celebrated but only culturally. Think festival, traditional dress, oral storytelling, but in schools, in government, they don't exist. No recognition, no support, and no communities that already feel politically invisible. That hits hard.
Meanwhile, there are few efforts like pilot bilingual education programs trying to bring mother tongue into early education. And the data, super promising, better literacy, better attendance. But most of these are donor funded and yet part of the national policy.
And what makes you wonder, if it works, why isn't it everywhere?
So third one is religion as a language pillar. One country is integrates. Third one, religion as a language pillar. One country integrates Arabic into its school system, not for business, not for tourism, but for religious literacy. That's a whole other dimension language as a spiritual tool.
And it makes sense. If faith is central to your national identity, then religious language education becomes part of who you are as a country.
The fourth one is a practical versus symbolic multilingualism. Multilingualism. And here is the thing. Some countries mean it when they say that they support multiple languages. They're funding, curriculum, teaching, training. Others, it's more like, we respect your culture, but not enough to teach your kids in their first language.
That's the difference between policy on paper and policy in practice.
Segment.
So let's move on to the real world impact.
So, this isn't just an academic debate. These policies affect real people right now. They affect whether a child learns to read, whether a student feels smart or stupid, whether an entire ethnic group feels seen or been silenced.
I mean, imagine being told your language is beautiful, but only at home. In school, it's not good enough. That sends a message and not a good one.
And that's even more ironic when you think about how these countries are incredibly diverse linguistically, like dozens of languages, even hundreds, and yet the systems are set up to work in just one or two.
So what's the takeaway? All of these countries are trying to hold in multiple things at once.
The need to unify a diverse population,
The need to connect with people with the global economy.
And also the desire to honor traditional and culture.
And you can't blame them for wanting simplicity. One language is easier to manage. It feels cleaner, but easier isn't always better. The ones that are trying to balance both unity and diversity, English and heritage, those are the ones doing the hard work. And yeah, it's messy, but it's also more honest. Alright, I want to throw it to you guys. What do you think? Should schools teach in local languages? Is one national language the best way to stay united? And where should English fit into all of this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And hey, if you made this far, like the video, hit the subscribe, and maybe share it with a friend who loves languages, culture, or policy debates. I am Maria Recaswico, and this was my take on language policies in Southeast Asia. Until next time.